Hey, in this video, we're going to be talking about the Bring on the Bash curation method. Because over the years, we've found that when it comes time to pick out music for a lot of couples, that they find it really stressful, it's overwhelming. And with the curation, we are trying to make sure that we're playing music that the two of you actually like and actually listen to, while at the same time entertaining guests. And striking that balance can be really difficult. Sometimes just picking out that much music is really difficult for some people, and for other people, it's not. So, in this video, the first part is going to be talking about what the two of you are responsible for. And the second part of the video is really going to be talking about a deep dive into our curation method, because I think it's helpful for couples to understand why we do things the way we do things. And if you're one of those couples that really loves music and you want to be deeply involved in the curation process, I'm really going to like no secrets will be withheld. So if you want to completely curate on your own using the method that we would employ, you would be able to with this video. So, first off, what is every couple responsible for? First, I think there's a really important mindset to have, and that's to curate as long as it's fun. And that's different for different people. For some, that's going to be doing, the minimum, which is picking out 20 songs and then picking out your special songs, because we can't be picking your first dance and things like that. And for other people, they're going to feel limited by some of the constraints that we're putting on you. Because, one time I had a person share a playlist with me, which had, I believe, 3,700 songs on it. Too much music, too much music. So curate as long as it's fun. And if at any point it begins to get stressful, just stop, fill out, the parts of the questionnaire that are necessary, kind of hit those minimum benchmarks, and we will really meet you at whatever level of involvement that you want to have. And we are happy, very happy to do so. All right. So in the questionnaire, when you get to the curation section, there's many questions, but there's really three main questions that we're asking for you to fill out. One is the general curation, which are the playlists that each of you make. We have the must plays and we have the do not playlist. So first, the general curation. This is the kind of meat. This is where a lot of the music that we're going to be playing from your wedding actually comes from. So I would really encourage you to engage with this part. So the first thing that you're going to do is, and I would recommend using a streaming service. So whether it's Spotify, Amazon, Apple, YouTube, we use Spotify, so that most easily connects. Because the playlists that we'll be sending you once, if we're curating playlists for you, which is the majority of couples, we're going to be sending those over to you on Spotify. Either way, if you want to type everything out and you're more of a spreadsheet person, go for it. I think it's going to take a lot longer. And when you use streaming service, we can ensure that the version of the song that you want to hear, there's nothing's lost in translation. So first, each of you make an individual playlist and title that with your first name and your wedding date or something like that. Because when we just get a playlist that says wedding music, I personally do somewhere between 40 to 50 events a year. And when I get potentially 80 to 100 playlists, all titled wedding music, very, very confusing. So if it's just your first name, like Taylor, with your wedding date, 6/29/2014, incredibly helpful for the DJ to quickly reference your playlists. Each of you should be making a separate playlist because we want to see where you guys differ. And we also want to see where the two of you overlap. And we want to make sure that both of you are represented music-wise, not just one of you. Now, if one of you has 20 songs and the other has 200, that's fine, but it's still very helpful for us to see where you guys are separate. As I say, please give us at least 20 songs. And if you're going to be on the lower side, try to give us as diverse of an artist range as you can. Having 15 songs from the same artist, to be honest, is not very helpful. So if it's difficult for you, try to just push through it. Try to give us a wider variety. Now, as to what to put on these playlists, there's really no limit. Put the music that you listen to on a regular basis on these playlists. A great thing to do is a great place to start is to go to your liked songs. Go through that, give it a pass through, just start throwing stuff on there. Because at a later time, you can always come back and remove things if you want to. Another really big tip, and this is how we actually curate special playlists for big events, or if there's a certain mood. For example, there's a pool party playlist that I've been curating for about 4 years now. And the secret to, I would say, really great curation is doing it over a long period of time. If you have to sit down on a weekend or a certain day and just like throw a bunch of stuff into a playlist, go for it. If that's what you got to do. I would recommend, upon seeing this video, literally, like, if you haven't done it yet, pause the video, go and make your playlist right now. And then over the next couple of months, or however long, the remaining curation planning process for your wedding is, every time you hear a song, think to yourself, would I possibly play this at the wedding? It doesn't have to be a yes or a no yet, but just throw it in there. And over time, I'm punching stuff. You're going to get a nice big list built up. And then you simply just share that to us. Now, please don't go over 200 songs, because if each of you are giving us roughly 200 songs, that's 400 songs, which is almost like 8 to 10 times sometimes the amount of music that we actually need for your wedding. Anything over 200 actually starts to become so much information that we start to lose focus. And we really want to play the songs that are important to you. Now, as I've said before, when we go through and we curate all of your music, we will be sending you playlists to review. So you're going to see what we've put on there. And for the majority of the time, if you give us enough music, we will almost exclusively use the songs that you guys have given us. And that's especially true for pre-dance party. The dance party is so much its own thing, which I'll talk about in a little bit, which you've probably heard me talk about on the phone call that we would have had together before booking, as well as some of the emails, the many, many emails that I send you. Okay, so moving on to the next section of what you're responsible for, must plays. Technically, you can leave this section blank if you want to. This is really, really important, though, because the rest of the music that you give us in those playlists are technically maybes. We might play that. So the must plays are incredibly important because these become special. These songs will be played. And this is primarily just for the dance party, though must plays can be outside of the dance party as well. And as it says in the questionnaire, like, caution, these are songs that we are going to play whether your group likes it or not. And vibing with the group is so much of what a dance party is. Now, when we have the review call, your DJ will give you their honest feedback. So if there's something on there that just in our experience, we just really know doesn't work, we're going to be telling you that. Now, sometimes that song that we're going, ooh, that's not a good pick, it's an inside joke with your friends or family. Well, then it makes sense. Like, for the average group, it wouldn't make sense. But for you guys, maybe it makes perfect sense. Now, we also have the do not playlist, which is one of the most important questions. maybe the most important for a dance party, because a dance party is so much of feeling it out and exploring, based upon what you guys have outlined for us. If you think of this entire screen as potential of where we could go with music, the dance party, let's say we start in the middle and we just kind of wander around of what you guys have outlined for us and what's acceptable. The do not playlist blocks off parts of the screen and is incredibly helpful, because instead of having literally all music of all time from any genre and decade, we start to hone that in. And maybe all the music you guys like is right here. And now the dance party is, we're just going to explore inside of here. And that's very helpful. One, that ensures that the two of you are going to hear music that you like. And because we have free range within what you guys have outlined for us, it allows us to find what your group really vibes with. And we're trying to find that sweet spot, the overlap in the Venn diagram of what the two of you like, what your guests like, and where that intersects. So, in some senses, I say, put as much on the do not playlist as you want to, because having an opinion is very helpful. At the same time, the more you put on the do not playlist, the more we potentially lose to vibe with the group. Now, a couple of things about the do not playlist. In general, we're not playing group dance songs. So the cha-cha slide, Cupid shuffle, wobble, anything like that. Now, if you really like one of those songs, put it in there, put it in your list of songs, probably up in a playlist or a must play, because that's helpful to us. Lastly, what else you are also responsible for is all of the special songs. First dance, parent dances, walking down the aisle. We just can't pick those songs out for you. Now, most likely, if you're seeing this video, you're on the planning page or you found it through one of the emails that we've sent you. So we have many playlists for you to review to help pick out those songs. And there's some general advice that we can give you, though that's not the purpose of this video. I'm about to move on to the second section, which is the deep dive into the curation method. And if that doesn't interest you, you can stop watching the video. If you find it interesting and you really want to hear how we explore your music, please keep listening. And of course, feel free to reach out to either myself or the DJ that you're working with. Our email is always our first name at Bring On The Bash. Taylor at Bring On The Bash, or whatever DJ that you're working with. All right, the second section, the curation deep dive. So once you guys have completed your playlists, or you've got the majority of your songs in there, and let's say you've roughly each given us 100 songs. What we do is go through and organize your music, and there's a few different ways that we're organizing it. Maybe organize isn't even necessarily the right word. Maybe tag is a better way to kind of start thinking about this. So we're going to be creating usually 4 different playlists for you to review. Sometimes, depending on your venue, we might have a 5th playlist that's very circumstantial. The general main playlists that we are curating are the prelude, cocktail hour, dinner, and dance party. So the prelude is when guests are coming in before the ceremony, being seated. Cocktail hour is obviously that. So is dinner, and the dance party. Now, one quick note on the dance party playlist. When it comes time for the dance party, we are not going to actually be playing the music from Spotify. Instead, we have purchased all the music. We're going to be running it through DJ software so we can blend and mix things and apply effects and DJ and mix. The dance party playlist is going to be songs that we have tagged, categorized, that you have given us that we think would be best played during the dance party. So if we send something over on the dance party and you're going, oh, I don't want that during the dance party, it's like, well, okay, well, let us know. Maybe it should go on the do not playlist. But the dance party playlist is really more of a sample of what might be played during your dance party. So now that we have all of your music, Here's how we're going to be breaking it into different playlists throughout the day. So the kind of 3 tags that we're assigning to a song, first, most importantly, is energy level. We do not curate by genre unless you specifically tell us to, though it's really not what I recommend. Instead, we curate by energy level. We're also going to be curating by familiarity, how well your guests know songs. And then there's kind of a simple other thing of length. We want to make sure that the playlist is long enough. We don't want our songs to be ending before that part of the day is over. So, energy. This is kind of the core of the curation method. We put songs on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 is really mellow. I always think of Jack Johnson playing an acoustic guitar. And a 5 is Lil Jon and T-Pain going absolutely bananas over a trap beat. The scale is very subjective. What's the difference between a 2 and a 3 and a 3 and a 4? It's like you can kind of tell when you hear it. And, in reality, many songs kind of fall in between. They're like a 2.5, and that's fine. This is really more of a generalization. If we start breaking it down to like 1 through 10, 1 through 20, it's like, well, what's the difference between a 15 and a 16? It's like, gosh, I don't know. Too specific. So 1 through 5. And when we curate by energy, what it allows us to do is play a bunch of songs from different styles and genres back to back without it sounding strange. What can sound really strange is, say during cocktail hour when we play a really slow, mellow song, and then it gets really hype, and then it gets really mellow again. It's those big jumps in energy that can sound weird, and it can start to make a playlist sound more like you're playing. I always think of like listening to a friend's high school iPod on shuffle. It's just like absolutely random and chaotic. And we want to avoid that. And another thing we're also trying to avoid, one of the big reasons we don't curate by genre, say, the entire cocktail hour is rock music, is when you play multiple songs of the same genre back to back, they all kind of start to blur together. So, and I call this being, like becoming genre deaf. And we don't want to do that. So, curating by energy allows us to play a really wide range of styles while also avoiding this kind of beating one genre to death. So, each playlist gets a different score. The prelude, when guests are showing up, is generally a mix of 1s and 2s. We want it to be pretty mellow. The songs don't have to be romantic. They can be. That's kind of optional. And the level of importance for romantic quality of songs is really up to you. When guests are showing up before the ceremony, they're talking, they're finding their seats. But it's really that first thing. They're talking. Many times guests are seeing each other, possibly for the first time in months or years, and they're finally getting to reconnect. So we want the vibe to be mellow. Also, with it being mellow, when you walk down the aisle, most likely we're going to be having a kind of bigger, more exciting song. Oh, punching it again. That allows for kind of that swell in energy, which is something that we want when you walk down the aisle and you walk back out. Cocktail hour is a solid mix of 3s. We want it to be really upbeat. It's the start of your party. And we don't want to be putting people to sleep. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't have any slow songs in cocktail hour. We definitely can. But I would say like 1 out of 5 songs, and I'm just kind of making that up off the top of my head, 1 out of 5 songs maybe is like a 1 or a 2. Dinner is one of my favorites to curate because we start at a 1, but it ends at a 3. So at the beginning of dinner, when people are seated, eating, and talking, that's the main thing that's going on. The music, we're really trying to create a vibe. Music during dinner should not be the center of attention. Now, a quick note on volume. When we're in the room, the volume we're aiming for dinner is people should be able to talk to each other. They should not be yelling at each other. But if they stop and they listen, they should be able to hear the song and go, oh, hey, this is so and so. Or at least be able to hear the song if they can't identify it. So dinner starts at a 1, but it ends at a 3. So roughly the first third of dinner is 1s, middle part of dinner is 2s, and the last part of dinner is 3s. Because as people finish eating, they start to get up out of their chairs, getting drinks, maybe interacting with the photo booth. And as we're getting closer to the dance party, we want the music to match the energy of the room. And by ending at a 3, it starts to kind of prime the room for a dance party. If we go from really slow songs to suddenly we're like full-blown dance party, that big jump in energy can feel like too much. Lastly, the dance parties is really 1s through 5s. I'd say it's primarily 4s and 5s, with the occasional 1 or 2 if we're doing a slow dance. And sometimes big songs that people sing along to can be a 3. One other note on the energy level is these are really generalizations. We can break these. I have had couples have really upbeat preludes that feel more like a cocktail hour, or the dance party. Not the dance party, the dinner. The dinner sometimes, might be a bit more mellow for longer, or we get to more of the upbeat stuff earlier on. It's a general framework for us to employ, and we can break that framework at any time, and we do so on occasion. Now, the energy level is the main way that we're assigning songs to different parts of the day. But sometimes you have music that guests don't know. You listen to kind of underground or indie artists, or maybe it's a really popular artist, but you want to play one of their songs that's lesser known. So the familiarity scale is very simple. Either the average guest knows it or they don't. So a good way to think of it about this is like, if you think of the song Uptown Funk by Bruno Mars, would you say the average guest knows that song? Yes, the average guest does know Uptown Funk. Now, does the average guest know Perm by Bruno Mars? Probably not. Great song, by the way, if you've never heard it. Now, that kind of middle is like, it's a popular artist, but they probably don't know the song. And then there's something that would be like Swagism by the funk jazz fusion group known as Ghost Note. People probably don't know that song and don't know that artist. So guests know it or they don't. Now, for the prelude when guests are showing up and for the cocktail hour, we are not concerned if guests know the music. If this is your time to really dig into a lot of stuff that really feels authentic to you, like this is actually what I listen to, I know people don't listen to this, and that's okay. For the prelude and cocktail hour, guests really don't have to know any of the songs, since a lot of what we're doing at that time is trying to create a vibe. Now, familiarity starts to change during dinner. We roughly want at least half of those songs to probably be known by guests. We want to let people know that we are going to play music that they do know. And lastly, the dance party. Guests have to know this stuff. And I say kind of unfortunately, we are not able to educate guests on what is cool or hip, or maybe a great song that most people don't know. So the dance party has to be music that guests know, because people only dance to music that they know. Quick story on that. Regardless of how you feel about Bruno Mars, when 24 Karat Magic first came out, so after the success of Uptown Funk, Bruno Mars was becoming ever more popular. A couple years later, he releases 24 Karat Magic. In the first 2 weeks that it came out, I played the song at a wedding, and I kid you not, It literally went from, I would say, 40, maybe 45 people to 0. Cleared the dance floor. Now, one, that just doesn't happen very often, that a song literally takes every single person out. But nobody knew the song. Everyone left. Now, 2 months later, it's been on the number one song for how many weeks, and it went on for much longer beyond that of being in the top 10. Everyone knew it. It was the biggest song of the year. So the reason I bring up that song is to say, if you really like obscure dance music, unfortunately, the dance party's probably not the time to play that. Now, every group likes different stuff, so we can always experiment with it to see if your group would react to music that they don't know. Or maybe your friends and family know all of this obscure stuff that the average guest won't know. So we can feel it out. But that's just the way dance parties are. Now, the last thing, length. If you are going to be curating your own playlists using this method, length is very important. For the prelude, we want it to be somewhere around 40 minutes. Usually we only need about 30 minutes, but one of the things about each playlist is we curate more music than we need, because curating music in the moment when you need it right now because something has taken longer than you've anticipated, not very fun. So the prelude, we want that to be about 40 minutes. For cocktail hour and dinner, those usually take about an hour. Now, if you have an hour and a half cocktail hour, or dinner is going to be a bit longer, then of course that length needs to be adjusted. So the general rule there is you want it to be 15 to 20 minutes longer than the actual time period would be, because maybe dinner service takes a little longer, or someone talks a bit longer on a toast than we anticipate. It's good to have that extra buffer of time. So there it is. There's a lot of information. I hope it's really been helpful. A few couple quick notes if you're going to really do a lot of the curation yourself. When you have made those playlists, send them over to your DJ, because we'll look through them. Sometimes it can be easy for couples to put great dance party songs in cocktail hour, or vice versa. A lot of people go, this song's a banger, and I know that I want it during the dance party. And we've already tried it at 15 dance parties, and it's got like a 1% success rate. Well, let's try putting that in cocktail hour, or maybe we can put it at the very end of dinner so we can play those songs. And we'll look over those playlists for you. Now, if we're doing a lot of the curation for you, we will employ all of these methods. We'll make draft playlists for you to review. As I've said, we do that on Spotify. Once we've sent them over to you, we usually give a brief explanation of, kind of explaining this method, usually in like a sentence or two. These playlists are not set in stone. We can change anything about them, and you are not wounding our DJ pride if you want something to be changed. It's your wedding. It's your music. Sometimes we're guessing, especially if you've given us music, if you haven't given us a lot of music and we're doing a lot of music association of like, well, they probably like this, they probably like that. Please let us know what you like about the playlists, what you do not like about the playlists, and we'll be happy to make those changes. If during the curation process you have any questions, please reach out to us. We are here to help you and to be a resource. And we usually don't reach out because we don't want to give you more ideas than necessary. We kind of don't want to contaminate the music that you guys like, with a bunch of other ideas of you're going like, well, maybe we should play that because that's what guests will like. And it's like, but we're trying to find the music that the two of you listen to that will entertain guests. And we can really help you find that intersection. If you've made it to this point, I'm impressed. That's a lot of information. The curation can be so much fun. Curate as long as it is fun, and we will be here to meet you at whatever level that is. We look forward to helping you pick out all of your music, and of course, just throwing an absolutely bonkers dance party. Thanks for watching. click and subscribe if this is on YouTube. If not, hey, it's probably going to be unlisted anyways. So, peace.